All right, I'm Dan Adamson, CEO of Armilla. Thank you, TMLS and Dave, for having us here. I'm here to talk about some of the issues we're seeing around generative AI and how to mitigate some of those issues. Just a little bit about Armilla. We focus on assessments, validation, testing. We also have tools, both for data scientists and developers. We're launching an auto-align generative AI toolkit, and you can come by our booth to see that. Classical AI is hard to test and create responsibly, and now we're seeing a whole bunch of other issues as we go out and start to use generative AI in enterprise settings. First of all, I'll tell you more about this, but they can contain bias, right? Based on the data sets that they're trained on. They can behave unpredictably. The surface area of attack as you start to utilize these with session space becomes enormous. This is an example of a great picture from Stable Diffusion. Unfortunately, the prompt used to create this was, give me a picture of somebody who's unprofessional and unqualified for their job. Clearly, this is not acceptable. Bias exists in all of these models that we've tested, ranging from gender bias, racial bias, political bias. There are issues beyond that around hallucinations that everyone's familiar with, hopefully. It's not just that they hallucinate, it's also that they're convincing when they hallucinate. In one case, a lawyer failed to even recognize that his briefing was hallucinated on his cases. They can have conversational drift towards the negative, right? And this is especially critical if you're using this with your clients and they start to react very poorly with them. Beyond that, they can also have security issues. We've seen models leaking data. We've seen leaks into models and into the producers. We've also seen leaks across users. They can also be hacked, right? And so there's jailbreaking that will allow these models to create or generate harmful content, right? So you have all of these issues. The question is now, how do you start to not throw out the baby with the bathwater? This was my son when he was younger, and he does have a mischievous look in his eye, but he's pretty cute. So how do you keep that, right, and turn this into something that's actually usable? And at Armilla, we've been investigating this a lot. We actually believe it's such a tough problem that it requires automation. And we believe that you need to start to define things at the concept level, and we call these alignment goals or alignment controls, and systematically test these models and be able to fine-tune them against those goals. That involves automating the synthetic data that's required to test these. It involves automating the interpretation or the evaluation of these and the fine-tuning of these, allowing a human to feedback. We've had great results. For example, here we're creating racially diverse sets of photographs using this approach, where you can take an initial model that might be biased and fine-tune that as well as evaluate it as it's progressing. It also allows you to be systematic and look at different base models and look at different end results of your fine-tuned models and compare them. So it becomes a very powerful tool once you start to automate and create a systemized approach to this testing. You can combine, mix and match alignment controls and start to build them together, but they become an inventory, right? So we think of these around three aspects: privacy, security, bias, and ethics, and then around custom alignment, and all of these are possible. You can combine both fine-tuning with this approach and guardrails, and sometimes guardrails are appropriate, sometimes fine-tuning's appropriate. Sometimes you get the best results when you combine the two, right? And that's very critical. And we are getting some great results. Here's an example of a bias control where we said if the question's ambiguous around gender, then add on something that's gender neutral, right? Another example around a custom control, you can get quite sophisticated, right? This is the concept of political divisiveness, where you can actually fine-tune and create that as a new concept that your model can then be very performant against. So the approach is quite powerful. Do come see us at the booth if you want to see some more examples or learn more about how this works. And we're launching this around the end of the month, so if you want to learn more, come see us. Thank you.